This conference will now be recorded.
Hi everyone, this is Amy from the North Columbus Public Library, and today I have a special guest with me. Her name is Lesley Hunt, and she's associated with the local Family History Center here in Columbus. And she was actually referred to us by Chris, who is the director of the Family History Center. Lesley is currently getting her degree in interdisciplinary studies with a focus on family history from Brigham Young University in Idaho. And please correct me if I'm wrong, Lesley, with any of that information. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Lesley, and she's going to tell us more about how we can discover our family history. Thank you, Lesley.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to share today.
All right.
So how I'd like to get started is there's a lot of people think with family history that you jump straight into the big deep research. You straight and online. It used to be visiting courthouses, which sometimes it still is. But there's some basics that we should cover before we jump into our researching. So let's go to that next slide. All right. Family history is about more than discovering names, dates, and places. It's about discovering stories. That's one thing that motivates most people when they get into researching their family history, is discovering who they are and where they came from. And the amazing thing is that each of these ancestors has a rich story. And for good or bad, they have all contributed to who we are today. And so I like to think of family history work as a little bit of a mystery game, solving mysteries. We're private detectives in our own family to discover these stories and what we can learn from those who've come before us. Next. All right, where do we start? Two questions that we need to address when we start our family history is, first, where am I going to record my family history? And second, where do I even start to get information on them? Next. All right, where will I record my family history? You have two options. Some people still prefer hard copies. They like things on paper. So you can figure out a way to write things down, or you can, and the different methods that you would use, you could use pedigree charts, family group records, or personal notes. And we'll go over those a little bit now, each one of those. So first with the pedigree chart, number one on a pedigree chart is you. Your information will go there. Your name, your birth, your place, if you were married, where and when you were married, and obviously not your death information. Now, if you were doing this for an ancestor and you wanted to know the ancestors of your grandmother, then your grandmother would be number one. But when you're first starting out, number one is you. Okay, go ahead and click those next links. So number two is going to be your father. And number three is going to be your mother. If you'll notice on this pedigree chart that each person on here is numbered. So to make it easy, click next, that the even numbered individuals on your chart will always be male, and the odd numbers will always be female. So if you think about it, number one is going to be you. Number two would be your father. Number four, going down the chart, is his father. Number five is his mother, and so on. And you would fill that in through the end of the chart. So this is a pedigree chart. It's a great thing to have to store the information. You can look at it quickly, to see all of your direct line ancestors and what information you have on them, right? And this pedigree chart can be downloaded for free at familysearch.org. If you can find that by Googling Family Search printable pedigree chart, or just Google pedigree chart. There's a lot of them online for free. No need to pay for them. All right, next. This is a family group record. And family group records, a pedigree chart gives you an overview of all of your, each generation of your direct line ancestors. And our family group records give us detailed information about families. If you notice at the top, there's a space for husband and a space for wife. This is the mother and father of a family. And you would record their vital information, meaning their birth, marriage, and death information under each one of them. And then at the bottom, there are spaces for each of their children. You'll record if they're male or female, their name, when and where they were born, when and where they were married, and death, and then their death and burial information. There's a lot of different versions of family group records. Some of them give you the opportunity, a space to fill in the spouse's name for each of the children. And if there were additional spouses for either of the parents, some of them will give a space for you to fill that into. And you would, if you're doing this by hand or you want a hard copy, you would fill in a family group record for each family that you research. Okay, next. All right, personal notes. If this last option, you can record your research in a notebook or a journal. They're very valuable. When I first started researching my family history when I was 14 years old, my grandfather loaned me a book that his father had written, and it was just a notebook. It was a little hardback notebook, and he had listed all of his siblings and all of their names and his grandparents and everything that he could remember. And some people still prefer to do that. They like that hard copy in their hand, or they want to put it in the computer and print it out, and that's just fine. Also journaling, so any of those options work as well. Next. All right, now your second option is if you prefer to use technology, then maybe you want to store your family history research on a computer. And once again, we have two options there. You have family history software that you download and put on your computer, or you can create family trees online at various websites. Next. Now, there is a lot of family history software out there, and I'm not promoting anyone in particular. I chose Roots Magic is up first. Roots Magic is what I have, and the only reason I have it simply is because for my classes with BYU Idaho, I'm required for a few of those classes to have software, and this is the one that they use, just generalized. So a little bit that I know about Roots Magic, you can generate, you enter your family information, you can sync it with Family Search, and download information they have already on the tree there onto your computer in your tree. And you can generate family group records and pedigree charts, which is true for most of them. The next is Family Historian. The next is, go ahead with that next one, Family Tree Maker. Family Tree Maker is made by Ancestry. And the last one that I'm familiar with a little bit is Legacy. Now, these don't represent the full collection, but these are just some examples. And so what I would suggest is if you're looking for software to have on your computer, which is a nice thing to have, go online, Google, look at each one of these, see their price point and the features they offer, and see which one seems the most comfortable for you. You might even be able to find review videos on YouTube that I'm a visual person, and so that might help some of you as well, just to see what they have to offer. All right, next. Online family trees. Ancestry is the one that most people are familiar with. With Ancestry, you do not have to have an account to create a family tree. So you don't have to have a subscription to create a family tree. You can create one for free. You have limited access. You won't have access to some of the hints and the records that Ancestry has to offer, but you can record your tree there. It's nice, it's private, and others can see your tree and collaborate, or you have the option to set your tree to private so only you can see it. You can upload copies of documents you might have on hand. You can upload pictures to your family tree. And then expanded features come if you get a membership to Ancestry. Another important thing to know is that there is free access to Ancestry through our public library system. So you can work on it there in the library on their computers. It's called Ancestry Institute, and you have access to the full range of everything Ancestry has to offer. I know that's a little tough for some right now because the libraries are closed, but they are their Wi-Fi is still available in their parking lots and can be used for genealogy research. So if you were to go to their parking lot and log on through their Wi-Fi, get onto their Wi-Fi and go through their Wi-Fi, you could access Ancestry Institute. MyHeritage is another online site. It is a subscription site as well. I actually just learned that you can download a family history software onto your computer from MyHeritage for free. Once again, MyHeritage is a subscription site, so you won't have full access to everything they have to offer, but you will have the basics. So you could build your tree and have it stored there on your computer. And once you are if you have a membership, then MyHeritage is similar to Ancestry in that both of them offer DNA tests, and you can link your tree to your DNA test, and it will give you hints of whose trees matches yours in your DNA matches. They're called smart matches. And you can also get other record hints. Your third option is Family Search. A family search is a little different than these other two websites. Ancestry and MyHeritage, you're on those websites, your trees are private, they are yours. Family search is one large family tree that everyone shares. And the pros to that, the advantages are that you get to share and see everyone else's research as well. You can see that, like, if anyone else has already found birth, death, marriage records, they've attached them to that person, and it might save you a lot of work. The one thing you should remember, though, is to use it with caution, as if you were planning on that being the only copy of your tree, because since everyone has access to it, other people can come in and change what you've put in. Maybe if they've received different information, and sometimes that's not quite right and you have to go back and change it again. So what I would suggest is, Family Search is amazing, and I have used it for years since it starts, and it's my go-to website. But definitely keep your own copy of your tree, whether that be print or on your own software or even in Ancestry. So you can sync Ancestry to and possibly MyHeritage, but I know for sure Ancestry to your Family Search tree, so you can share information between the two sites. So just have a backup, but Family Search is a great tool. Okay, next. All right, where do I start to get information? Where in the world do we begin? Now's the time. Okay, next. All right. First thing that's important is to record what you already know. So remember, you're the first person that you add to your family tree. So go into your family tree software or filling out your pedigree chart, your family group records, and remember and fill out everything about yourself. And then continue down that family tree in your pedigree, in your family group records, on your software with everything that you personally know. You know your grandparents' names. Put your grandparents' names in there. Do you remember their birth dates or their birthplaces? Maybe you only remember their birth year and maybe the state they were born in. Go ahead and put that in. Everything that you can remember, that you can recall. Next step is we go to our family members to find out what they know. Go to mom, go to dad, aunt, uncle, cousins, because sometimes cousins have heard more stories than we have. And you might worry that you're going to, it might bother someone, but let me tell you from experience, people love to tell their stories. They love to tell what they know. I took a class recently in which I had to interview 3 separate individuals of specific ages, and I was really worried it was going to burden somebody and this was going to be something they didn't want to do. And I can tell you they were all 3 so thrilled. Everyone wants to tell their stories. So ask ahead of time. Before you go into an interview, think of specific questions that you want to ask. Look at your tree. What do I need to know? And make a list of those questions. And when you have those questions, you might want to, at least a couple days in advance, give them to the family member that you're going to interview, because sometimes they might need a little help in or a little time to just think it over and try to recall that information. Okay. With their permission, record the interviews, because that will help you later go back and re-listen to information that maybe you didn't get, or maybe you jotted down incorrectly. Another thing that I want to jump back to with thinking of the questions that you want to ask, being specific, try to keep those questions open-ended, because sometimes people might give you additional information, or they might not recall things at first until they start talking. So if you want to know, an information, let's just say, we want to know where your grandfather worked. This isn't going to go on your family tree, but you want to know information. We're building a story. Or you might ask Grandpa, hey, Grandpa, what was your first job and what was it like to work there? Instead of, what was your first job? Oh, I worked at DuPont Chemical, plant. The end. No, what was your first job and what was it like to work there? Well, the days were long and the labor was hard. You want more information. Give you a little more meat to go off of. Okay, so back to recording those interviews with family. Get their permission first, but those are definitely valuable to have. And I want to talk about some options next for recording those. All right, and then all the information we get from these interviews we're going to use to fill in our family tree and our family group records. Next. All right, recording interviews. We have several different options. You can use a handheld voice recorder, and go ahead and click the next. Yeah, handheld voice recorder or your smartphone. Our smartphones are amazing. They have voice recorders right on them. That's what I've used a few times, and then the file is right here on my phone for me to access whenever I need it. I can text it to the person I interviewed, because usually they and their family would love to have a copy, and then I can use it to insert into whatever data I want. There's a third option that I want to talk about really quick, and next, that is the Family Search Memories app. Family Search, which is free online, familysearch.org, has two apps. They have the Family Tree app, and they have a Memories app. And on the Memories app, next, the Memories app, we can go into this, and if you look at this first image, across the top you'll see a bar, and that bar has pictures and files and stories that you can type in, and the last is a little microphone. You can record stories directly into the Memories app, and then attach them to the family tree, to the person in the family tree at Family Search. Okay, next. The way you do that, if you look down in our first image at the bottom right-hand corner, there's also a little green circle with a white plus sign in it. If we click that, then our screen appears like this second image, where we have the option to add a document, write a story, record audio, or add photo. In this case, if you're recording an interview, you would click Record Audio. Next. And this is the screen you would get. If you don't have specific questions, then this screen gives you options for questions to ask your family members and ancestors. And this is really handy at, if you're having a family dinner, a family reunion, and you want to go around and interview people. You could choose one of these topics. What's a memorable moment for your childhood? What do you remember about the place you grew up? How did you meet your spouse, for example? And then in the bottom right corner, you click Begin Recording, and it records it directly into the app. Kind of handy to have. All right, next. All right, our next step. We have, so far in our beginning research, we've recorded everything that we know. We've asked family members, and we've gotten the information they have to expand our trees. The next is to consult online family trees. There's a lot of family, the distant family that you don't even know about, who may be recording your family history in their online trees. These online trees, like I said, are family search. You can search Ancestry, MyHeritage. Those are just a few. I know there's more out there. You can also do a Google search for your family name. For example, the Carr surname, C-A-R-R, is a big surname in my family. And they came from Santa Rosa County, Florida, most recently. And so I could Google Carr family history, Santa Rosa County. And some people may have blogs up, family websites. It might link me to message boards on different family search sites where people are sharing information about my family. Facebook groups might also pop up as well. And we'll get into those later with when we get more into research. But Facebook groups for family history are abundant, and they have great information, and they connect you with people who are also doing the same research as you. And everybody loves to have helpers. All right, next. Be cautious with the information that you get from these online trees. A lot of people just put down the information that they've heard from other family, and that's not always correct. In family history research, we like to have our information backed up by actual credible sources, actual records, birth records, death records, census records, and that's not the case. I know that I've used information from other people once to build my tree when I was first starting, and I was so excited. And then it turns out that I ended up having grandchildren listed as instead of children for one couple. And so just a little example of how everyone's information is not completely accurate. So just use caution and don't take it as fact until you can prove it later. But use it as a great starting point for your research. Okay, next. All right, look for artifacts that may contain valuable information. Things that you may have, that your family members may have, old family photos, engravings on items passed down, like maybe an engraving inside a ring that has a marriage date, family Bibles, so valuable, family journals. My husband's family is from out west. They're part of the early pioneers out to Utah and Arizona, and his family journals are abundant. I can put his ancestor's name in and put journal for many of them, and boom, up pops the website with journals. Amazing. That might not be the case for you. That is not the case for me. My family came from the Southeast or hundreds of years back, so not as easy for me to find, but it might be for you too. Also, newspaper clippings. My grandmother and my great-grandmother were all about saving newspaper clippings, and so I have some great examples there. So I want to talk about a few right here. Next. Family photos. Go ahead and click next. So look on the back of your family photos for descriptions. A lot of times these will give years and names of who's in the photos, and sometimes locations. This photo to the right is a picture of my great-grandfather, my grandmother, and my great-grandmother. And on the back of this photo, it says Carr, Dorothy, and Sabra. And I learned an important thing from the way that my great-grandmother labeled photos, and that is that the women in her family tended to call their husbands by their last name. So if I was looking for information on my family and I saw this picture, there is a valuable piece of information in it. They're sitting on the bumper of this car, and you might not be able to see it if the picture's too small, but if you had the actual picture in your hand, you could. If you look next to my great-grandfather, there is a license plate. And underneath that license plate number, it says 1941 Tennessee. Now, if I didn't know that my grandmother lived in Tennessee, that is valuable. That tells me this family lived in Tennessee around 1940 to 1941. We don't know any other information, but later that is super valuable, because guess what I can do? I can go to the 1940 United States Census in Tennessee, and I can search for this family. And if I find them on that census, that will give me where they lived then, where they were born, and how old they are. So I get a lot of other information, but I get an idea of about when they were born. Very valuable information. I have another family photo of this grandmother of mine, and they were visiting family in Florida. How do I know? They're standing in front of a bus, an old school bus that says Okaloosa County Schools, Okaloosa County, Florida. So there are clues everywhere, sometimes the way they're labeled. Aunt Mary and Georgia. Maybe it might say that, and you say, oh, and Aunt Mary, well, this photo album belonged to my grandmother. She had an Aunt Mary. I didn't know that. And, maybe Aunt Mary had a daughter named Georgia. Valuable clues in our family photos. Next. All right. Like I just said, you can discover relationships as well. Family Bibles. Family Bibles often contain names, birth dates, and places, death dates and places, and marriages. Now, we talked about setting up interviews with families, and the way I gave you is a formal way, but there's an informal way you can do interviews as well. Last September, we were visiting my family in Florida, and we were staying with my aunt, and I said, hey, Aunt Pat, do you have some family pictures that, any old family pictures that we could look through later? And she's like, oh, sure, great. Well, maybe we can look through them, after church on Sunday. Yeah, that sounds great. Well, after Sunday dinner, she pulls out these boxes. And there's pictures, and she goes, oh, here's some other things to look through. And among them, I was just amazed, was this old Bible. This Bible belonged to my great-great-grandmother. And this great-great-grandmother and her husband, we don't know where they came from. And I just was so giddy. I went through this Bible, and I snapped pictures of every page that had writing on it. And I don't have time to go into it now, but I can't tell you how many doors this opened up for my research and realizing that she had been married before. The name she had gone by that we knew was actually her middle name. She recorded in her own hand exactly which city she was born in. So much was opened up, and that was just because, hey, Aunt Pat, can we look through some family pictures later? You can do that too. They love to share what they have. And our smartphones are amazing tools for family history. Pulled it out, snapped pictures, and now I have a file. And I have to tell you, in addition, some of the papers she had were, some of the Confederate soldiers signed an oath of allegiance to the Union after they fought in the Civil War. She had the original oath of allegiance signed in 1865 from my great-great-grandfather. Ask your family. You have no idea what treasures are out there, right there in his own hand, had filled that out and signed it. Amazing. All right, next. Newspaper clippings. These two clippings actually came from a whole newspaper that my great-grandmother saved. And this is the newspaper that talked about the death of my great-grandfather's brother in a car accident. Going through this clipping, it tells us when he died, the circumstances of his death. It tells us the name of his wife, the name of all of his children, the name of his brother and where his brother lived, his stepsister, his father, and his stepmother. Valuable information. If I hadn't known before, I could build a whole family off of just this newspaper clippings. So some people may have those in their archives as well. Right, next. All right, record it. Record all of the information you learn into a pedigree or family group record. Record where you got the information, whether it was from your family member, a newspaper, a photo, or an online tree. When you record your sources, you want enough information put down so that you can go, where to go to get back to that source. And also, if someone else says, hey, what's your source? Where did you get this information? That way you can tell them exactly where they can find it too. So these are the basic steps that you take to get started. And I guarantee that once you get started, you'll be hooked and you'll be ready for the next step to research. And I hope you feel that fire lit inside. Thanks so much.
And thank you, Lesley. I wanted to show everyone too. I want to try to pull this up here for everybody to see. Let's see here. Can you see my screen okay, Lesley?
Yes.
Okay, great. So Lesley mentioned so many um, great tips on how to get started with your family history. And make sure that you comment below, everyone, with your favorite family photo, what you learned today. Lesley shared a lot of great information. And I also wanted to show too, this is the library's website. It's cvlga.org. And currently the library just started curbside service. So if you just go to the catalog and type in genealogy, you can request books to be pulled for you for the curbside service. So there are a lot of help books that you can request. Um, and just make sure that you click on place request and have those available for you for the curbside service. Now, one other thing I wanted to show you is she mentioned a couple of resources um, that you can access right off the library's website, and they're under the Research It tab and under Genealogy and Local History. In Genealogy Resources, you just click on that tab, and they'll come up here for you. So we have some local stuff from Muskogee County, Harris County, the Ledger Inquirer paper. Currently, Ancestry Library Edition can be accessed from home. This is something that Ancestry has offered in light of COVID-19. So this is just something that's temporary that you can access from home, no problem. So give that a shot. And also Family Search, we have that partnership with them. We're an affiliated library, which means that we have access to even more records because we are a Family Search library. Now, from my understanding that you can access that with any library branch Wi-Fi. So if you happen to go by the library and just use our Wi-Fi from the parking lot, again, any location, you can have even more access here with the Family Search access. And last but not least, again, you can, once things are able to reopen, you can come and normally we do offer one-on-one appointments for genealogy assistance, and at some point we do hope to offer that again. So just stay tuned for more information, and we really appreciate your patience. And of course, we have a wonderful genealogy department as well, and that's headquartered at the main library. They're on the second level. They're at 3000 Macon Road, and again, you can, though, do your genealogy from any branch library. I actually work at the North Columbus Public Library, so you can actually do your research from there. And so I just wanted to point that out to you. And the North Branch Library is actually located on Armour Road, right next to Britt David, across from Britt David Park and Britt David School. Well, thank you so much, Lesley, and I really appreciate all the information that you've taught us. And I'm going to end this session. Is there anything else that you would like to add before we end the session?
I think that's it. Just stay tuned for our research advice.
Okay, well, awesome. Well, thank you so much, everyone, and stay tuned for more. Have a great day, and we hope that this video finds you well, and hope to see you soon. Have a good day.